there are any senators wishing to change their vote? If not, the yeas are 59, the nays are 41. The joint resolution is passed.
The Senate voted Thursday to overturn the president's national emergency declaration. The rebuke passed easily, with 12 Republicans voting in favor of the resolution. The measure already won support in the House last month, which means its next stop is the Oval Office. President Trump made clear his intentions soon after the vote. In a tweet, he said he looks forward to vetoing the bill and also thanked, quote, strong Republicans for standing by his side. Let's bring in Zeke Miller. He's a White House reporter for the Associated Press. Zeke, thanks for being with us. This would be President Trump's first veto. Put this into perspective for us. What would that action mean for his term?
Well, this is first and foremost a stunning rebuke of the president by members of his own party. He took this unilateral executive action after Congress stymied him on his funding for his signature campaign promise. They wouldn't do that. And now they're on record opposing the action that he did take, this unilateral action. That said, the president's going to veto this legislation, this resolution. This will all get tied up in the courts. This doesn't really change any of the facts on the ground, and that's in part why the White House didn't really spend a whole lot of time over the last several days negotiating and leaning and pressuring Republican lawmakers to get on board. It doesn't diminish the embarrassment, but the veto does signal this new era that the president has in the relationship between this White House and Congress. There's not going to be a whole lot of cooperation from here on out, and in combination with this, the president's fraying relationship with his own party, but also the investigations that are coming from the House side of the Capitol that we've seen sort of spike over the last several weeks. Those are only going to continue. So we're in a new era that the White House is really just coming to grips with.
I want to bring into this conversation Axios reporter Stef Kight. Stef, thanks so much for being with us. So out of the 12 Republicans who ultimately broke ranks with the president, were there any big surprises? And how are these Republicans justifying their decision to go against the president?
Yeah, this was something we were watching for the past several days, the past few weeks. We saw this momentum kind of building to block the president's attempt to call a national emergency. We saw it among Republicans, especially concerned with the idea that Trump was overreaching his power of the executive branch, that many Republicans, especially more moderates, saw that the president was using powers that were not within his power in order to call this national emergency. And that's the concern we've seen over and over again from Republicans, especially considering the fact that many of them are afraid that Democrats will be able to use a national emergency in the future for their own priorities, their own partisan priorities. And so that's the concern we've really heard from Republicans, and it's one of the key reasons we've seen so many Republicans vote to terminate the national emergency.
Well, 3 Republican senators made a last-ditch effort to find a compromise with the president before the vote. Zeke, what do we know about the White House meeting with Senators Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, and Ben Sasse?
Well, we know it was unscheduled, that they basically showed up at the White House gate without an appointment, and that caused a bit of confusion because it had not been scheduled by the White House Office of Legislative Affairs. It did not go through normal channels. They came up in sort of an 11th hour pitch to the president to try to convince him to back their effort. And the president's response to them was essentially, why should I help you get out of the mess that you created? It was not going to change the outcome of the vote. The president knew he was still going to lose on Capitol Hill. It would have made it easier for some Republicans to stick by him, but it would have narrowed the margin of Republican defections. It would not have eliminated them to the point where the president's emergency declaration could survive this vote. So what the president essentially decided, he believes Republicans should be running on this issue. That's a message we've seen him reinforce before the vote. We've seen him reinforce after the vote, and we will see him deploy on the campaign trail in the weeks and months and years ahead, is that he wants Republicans to be running on the issue of immigration on the border wall, and they were trying to move that discussion into sort of a philosophical discussion, a constitutional discussion about national emergencies, and he didn't want that.
Well, if President Trump vetoes the bill, it appears Congress does not have enough votes to override his decision. However, Democratic Congressman Joaquin Castro is urging the House to try anyway. Let's listen to that.
It's going to be very tough, but we're going to give it a shot. And I look forward to working with the Speaker in the House of Representatives to give it a shot. Nobody thought that 12 Republican senators today would vote with us. And so you're right, the odds are long, but I'm not ready to call it a day yet.
So, Steph, what kind of battle can we expect?
Yeah, we're definitely going to see, especially from the House, they're not going to let this one go. They're going to continue to push to terminate this national emergency that the president has ordered. But as you said, as it stands now, based on the votes that we've seen in the House and the Senate, there aren't enough votes to override a veto that we know is coming from the president. And I think it's interesting to see the way that the president has reacted to this. There's a sense in which he is excited to use his power, the power of the veto. He's excited to prove to his followers, to his supporters, that he is serious about this issue. After seemingly losing this issue when it came to including the funding that he was asking for in the budget, this is a way for him to again make it very clear that this is something that he cares about and that he goes to great lengths to do. And using the veto, calling this national emergency, he loves these dramatic moves to show his base that he cares about the issues that he ran on in 2016. And so I think we're going to continue to see him use this as a political issue.
All right. Zeke Miller and Stef Kight, thanks to you both. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
There were some flight